people have tried in vain to define life. And we can define the necessary conditions of life, but we've all, I think, had the sense that there's something about life that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Since you're a philosopher as well, so tell me, when we've just lost this functioning of the cell has just stopped working, so it's no longer alive. What is life? What is it we just lost? Tell it to me. What is it? What have we just lost?
What do they say in legal matters? That's a deep and imponderable question. I mean, I don't think people have tried in vain to define life, and we can define the necessary conditions of life, but we've all, I think, had the sense that there's something about life that's greater than the sum of its parts. And you don't have to be a cell biologist to know this. If you've ever lost a person that you love and you're with them at that moment of death, all the parts are still there, but the person is no longer there. What is that that's left? In the biblical view, it's a spirit, a soul, a mind, and a spirit. It's something immaterial. And now, I don't know when we're talking about a living cell as opposed to a human being. Of the human being, I'm sure there's a spirit and a mind, but there's something mysterious about life that we haven't really come to grips with. We know what's necessary from the standpoint of the physical substrates, what has to be in place to make life possible. But when life leaves, we don't exactly know what it is that's left, but we know something is left, and it's not just the physical.
Yeah, if I could just try to reduce this to something utterly amazing that maybe our audience, those watching, would want to think about. We are so clueless on this thing. If a cell just dies, it's hard for us to define what it is we just lost. Just try to describe what life was. What is it? Is it just this potential across a bilayer? No, it's many, many, many things together, and we're not sure even how to define that thing, let alone make it from the bottom up. We are utterly clueless. And what happens is people think that scientists have already figured this thing out. And so they just kind of accept it. Well, scientists know how to do that. They don't. They're clueless. Share something on this, Steve.
And even more so when it comes to the origin of life. It's hard enough to define what it is, but as you've shown, trying to explain how it got here from a prebiotic soup or whatever the theories. I mean, you and I both have a deep interest in this question. I did my PhD on it, and my first book, as you kindly shared with your audience, was about that. And you've been writing these fantastic articles for Inference and other places, holding these guys to account, because our students are told that we do have this all figured out, that chemistry in a warm little pond or in a prebiotic soup would have, with the right spark or lightning or something, would have reacted and naturally and gotten more and more and more complex. And we found that you actually, in the laboratory, you can't move you can't move the chemicals in a life-friendly direction without repeated interventions of intelligent investigators. And to my way of thinking, these simulation experiments in origin of life research or origin of life studies, they have a particular logic about them. They're based on uniformitarian reasoning. The present is the key to the past. What we see happening in the laboratory is our guide to understanding what is plausible to think might have happened in the past. So when these investigators, time and time again, can't form even proteinaceous amino acids without, in a sense, cooking the books, setting up the experiment in just the right way, introducing just the right reagents at just the right time, removing the stuff so they don't get the interfering cross reactions, et cetera, what are they actually simulating? It seems to me they're simulating the need for a mind to move the chemicals in a life-friendly direction. And at the same time, we still don't have a definition of what life is. We know it when we see it. We know when it's gone, but we know it's necessary. We know we need energy. We need to hold a complex system far from thermodynamic equilibrium. We need information. We need metabolic pathways. We need various things to make life, but those are necessary conditions. that all have to be in a precise configuration with each other in order for there to be life as a whole. And yet we don't really have a complete definition, but the origin of life is utterly mystifying from a materialistic point of view, and every attempt to simulate it seems to suggest the need for a designing intelligence to superintend over the process.